and welcome back to another episode of the Everyday Strong podcast. This is episode 17 and week 17 of marathon training, and the last marathon training podcast episode, whatever you'd like to call it. This has been the last week of taper in the lead up to the marathon. So this will be the last episode of this little series until obviously I will hopefully after the marathon do a little recap on that as well. But it's been a long but also a short 17 weeks. It's a bit mad really to think back in January when I started doing these little podcast episodes that now you're here like that a week from the marathon, shall we say. So yeah, it didn't, and fortunately or unfortunately, it didn't go quite the plan the week of the taper or the last week of it. But again, to be expected, I suppose, as well. I went on a run on the Monday of the week and for a 5K run, and I got a little bit of a shooting pain in the knee or underneath the kneecap. I actually just stopped and walked for a little bit, but I still got the 5K done, just a little bit slower. I took my time with it and kind of iced it and rested up, and then had another go at a run again on the Thursday, a 5K, and was out for the run. Yep, knee felt okay. Again, I feel like it was just a little bit of that. Again, like that, when you're coming off of such a lot of running, your body kind of gets used to it and it probably expects it, and then you're kind of going the opposite way, and it's kind of like, it's that inflammation and that recovery happening, and it's just the body in transition of the other way. But on the Thursday, I actually did the run, all felt well with the knee, no real problem. Could feel a little bit of swelling, and that's what I think it is. It's just a little bit of swelling underneath my kneecap, but not pain, just a little bit more of annoyance. And came home, and I had then my foot, it didn't feel on the run, but my right foot was a bit inflamed and a bit angry. And again, I think it's just from, well, one, having arthritis in my feet, and two, just again, that overload and that friction in a runner and things like that just kind of flare things up. So then on the Saturday, I was meant to do another, I suppose, the last kind of longish run, 12 or 14K, just keeping the stimulus there. And I didn't do it because like that, it's not worth it for the day, because like at this stage you're just trying to keep yourself fresh, injury free, recovered, and ready to go as much as possible. So like that, adding a 14K run off the back of a knee feeling a little bit iffy, foot kind of aggravated and inflamed, not worth the chance. So like that, I just hopped on the bike, 90 minutes, still got the same stimulus in terms of aerobic and the heart rate. And again, it's an easy cycle, but like that, still got a little bit of work done. And like that, you don't have the joint impact that you would have with running. So like that, it gives you're still getting the same kind of stimulus. So, but it felt strange and a bit frustrating. Like, you can get in your own head about it, like a bit frustrating with the first run I missed in 17 weeks. Like I literally hit every other run that I had to do. Maybe some distances didn't get hit, maybe 1 or 2 kilometers short some weeks, but like that, majority of them hit everyone. But again, this is where, with a bit of experience and advice from other people, that you'll have to look at the whole perspective of it. Like, like you're trying to keep yourself fresh. Like my training peaked a couple of weeks ago. When I hit 28, 31, them kind of distances, like that's when you peak for a marathon a few weeks ago. It's not the week of. So like that, you have to remember that. And the decisions you make now is about keeping yourself as ready as you can for the day. So, but it felt strange not running on the weekend. It really did. Like your 17 weeks of doing the same routine with what you're eating the day before, with sleeping, with getting up the same time, with having the same breakfast, doing the same routes, that same routine and schedule every single week. And it's funny, you do get kind of used to it and go in a bit of autopilot with it. So like that, it's going to be a bit strange afterwards. I won't be doing this type of running after I do the marathon. It'll be the complete opposite. There'll be a lot of downtime after this and just kind of do what I feel like when I feel like it for a while. But like that, we'll come to that afterwards. I still have to get to uh the end line. Yes, we still have to do that. So like that, you don't want to think too far ahead afterwards. You want to now, like I want to kind of now enjoy the build up as you can. You know, there is nerves about it. You know, you're still nervous about like, are you going to be am I going to be able to complete 42 kilometers? Like you still are a bit nervous about it. But excited about the prospect of it too. Like so, yeah, like it'll be a strange one to like not have long runs on a Saturday morning to do from next week from now onwards, like apart from this marathon at the weekend. And like that's something that's probably one of the big things I've taken away from the marathon was the time. Like, you know, on paper the time, but like when you have to go and physically do the time on feet and on legs and the time commitment and, you know, giving kind of other things up or sacrificing other things like to get the running in, you know. And like I wouldn't even like class myself as a runner. I'm a very slow runner. And I've like trained for this on probably a minimum effective dose because like that with the arthritis, I didn't know how my body was going to react to the volume of running, to 2 to 3 days, to the distance, to being able to recover, how long it would take me to recover, you know, how everything would feel. So like my arthritis is rheumatoid, so it's more inflammatory. And it's in my hands and my feet. So I put my feet, and again, this has kind of come around full circle. Like 6 years ago, I had entered to do this marathon and I had to pull out of it because, well, one, COVID happened, but two, I actually was diagnosed with arthritis in my feet at the very same time. Because at the time when I was training before it got pulled, I was in bits from running. You know, my hips, my joints, everything just was like really bad. And I couldn't figure out why. And I eventually went and got things checked out and bloods and stuff, and like it had actually kind of reared itself in my, you know, in my feet. So like that, I gave up running then completely, and honestly didn't think I'd ever get back running any distance again. But like 2 years ago, I think 2 years ago, I decided to give it another crack. Kind of felt good, and that, so I said I'd give running another go, and like if I could get back out to run a 5K, that would be the end point. But it hasn't been. You know, it's got to this stage now where I'm trying to run a marathon on Sunday. So for me, like this marathon isn't about like, and people ask you times, you know, it's a natural thing. You know, people think that's the reason for it, but for me, it's far from that. Like, you know, this is literally about getting from point A to point B and finishing something I wanted to do 6 years ago, and seeing that if I can do it or can I do it, you know, and like that, just training just like an effective amount, but the minimum amount kind of to get to the finish line, to get from A to B, putting one foot in front of the other. And for me, that's it. Like, it's not about chasing the time or, you know, it will be a PB because it's the first one. You know, it will always be a PB regardless if I ever do one ever again. But like for me, it's not about the time. And it would have been before. This is the strange thing. I think when you have something underlying, or, you know, where before, yeah, would have been very, because again, I come from playing football, playing sport, very performance orientated background and competitive background. So like that would have always been like the reason, you know, you're chasing goals, times and things. But like for now, it's not. It's literally the goal of completing, and that is literally it. You know, I like that. I still like to where I can have the mental battle, the bit of push to see can I do things and do it. And even just a day out at events, like I've done half marathons and 10Ks and different events, like they're cool, they're a good buzz, like, and I'm looking forward to the buzz of a marathon day. Because I've heard Limerick is pretty good and it's very well organised, so hopefully we get the weather and things to match. But like that, looking forward to the buzz of it as well, because it is a good buzz. You know, you put in so much work and effort into it that you want to soak up and enjoy the day, and that takes the pressure off too, not going for a time. You know, I just want to complete it within. Now there is cut-off times, which I found out during the week, but hopefully I'll be okay to hit them and get well under them, so we get it completed. But yeah, it's more so the completion side of it now, and the enjoyment, as enjoyable as a marathon can be. I suppose like that. I've only experienced 31 kilometers, and it wasn't very enjoyable. But again, at the end, is the satisfaction after you've done it is more so the thing you're doing, and can you mentally overcome the battle with yourself, the not, and the belief in yourself, and that kind of stuff when it gets to the probably the tricky, like, mid 30s. I know once I hit like hopefully that 30 mark again, it's after that then where you're kind of in a mental, probably a bit of a battle, I know to anticipate there's going to be mental battles along the way. And that's part of it. It's challenging. And this is the thing, like, we see so much of it on social media, and of a marathon being something that looks so normal, but it's not. Like, it's really not. And when you go to the training of one, you realize kind of how mad it is, to be honest with you. And the fact that you've actually considered putting yourself through the training to get there. So, like, yeah, that, I suppose I'll keep this one short. It's just a wrap up of the last 17 weeks of the ups and downs, and the getting through each training session, each run, and the challenges of it, and the fact that some of them runs I got to the end of them, and I'm like, how the hell did I get to the end of that? Like, you're just sometimes in a disbelief. And this is what fitness is about. Like, you're putting yourself in a situation to see, can you overcome something and build a little bit of belief in yourself, that that mental resilience at times, I think, really, for me, sometimes is what fitness gives you too. That mindset of not giving up, and you're in a situation now, and you have choices and decisions, and you either get on with it, or you stay stuck. And I think, like that, for me, and even through my clients and stuff, some of them, like, you see the change in the mentality around even just the way they see fitness now, or the way they see training now, or the way it has changed them, not just physically, but also like that mental resilience side of knowing they can overcome things, and they can overcome, you can do hard things and overcome it, and get through it, like, so yeah, we'll hopefully, the next episode will be a recap of the marathon day itself, and maybe touch on plans ahead. We'll see. I'm trying not to, as I said, get too wrapped up in the after side of it. But it's really now, like, just enjoying the week and the build up, and like that, I'll have one or two little small runs to do, not major. It's just keeping your legs feeling well. Remember that you have a 42-kilometer run to do, and like that, I'm nearly treating this as, like, yeah, it's just a normal long run weekend, just a bit longer than I've done before, and there'll be lots of people around. And that's, I suppose, mentally, without trying to freak yourself out about it, is how I'm thinking about it. That it'll be just the same as any other weekend for the last few weeks in terms of the training, but with just more people, and a little bit more organization to it, rather than me just going out on random Saturday mornings and running random loops around Carrolltown. So yeah, I will leave it there. Again, if you'd like to keep up to date with it, follow along on my Instagram. I'll post things up about the week and getting ready. And if anyone has any questions or want to find out a bit more about how to train for your first event, maybe, or you're someone coming back into fitness and you want to have a go at something, and how to kind of rebuild yourself up there, drop me a message. Happy to help out and advise, like that. I like putting myself through these situations and things, because it's a learning, and hopefully you can pass your what you've learned on to somebody else. That's the point of, for me, coaching, teaching people and helping people and advising people and supporting them in whatever their fitness or training goals are, and lifestyle and health goals too, like, but yeah, we'll wrap it up there. Short and sweet. It's been a good 17 weeks. Pretty happy, with the effort that's gone in. I think manage it all pretty well, nutrition side, everything. So there's nothing left to do now but go run the marathon and enjoy the day. So yeah, I'll leave it there. Let's see what happens, and hopefully chatting again next week after completing 42 kilometers.